It took everything I'd learned from living on the road to survive Thailand. That and every ounce of emotional willpower, self-control, sheer stubbornness, relentless drive, and physical dexterity to a degree I didn't even realize I had. But as those 5 weeks passed, the battle became even greater than survival. It became less about the insanity of 115-degree Fahrenheit days, of filming from sun up to sundown, or assimilating into yet another culture both foreign and exciting. Thailand was the beginning of the end, an expedition which undoubtedly changed the course of my life and my career as a videographer and storyteller. After a year of traveling on motorcycles through all of North America, Asia, and beyond, searching for answers and direction, Thailand taught me the greatest lesson I learned in the 14 months I spent as a vagabond. There is no path to happiness. Happiness is the path. Welcome to the end of my journey on the road, the curtain call, the encore, the epilogue of my story of redemption. Welcome back to the Graceful Renegade. Thailand, formerly Siam, is a country of hills, mountains, magnificent coastline, and plains. Truly a gem, it is the only country in Southeast Asia never to have been colonized by a European country, a mark of pride and something ingrained so deeply in their culture. In the Thai language, the name of the country is Pratet Thai, which means land of the free. Its national flower is the orchid, of which there are almost 1,500 species. It is home to more bird species than the US and all of Europe combined, and the largest and smallest mammals, both call Thailand home, being the whale shark and the bumblebee bat, respectively. Logging and deforestation are illegal due to the jungle now being a quarter the size it was a century ago, which is a wonderful thing considering some of the most magnificent temples of the roughly 35,000 that exist in Thailand are hidden in the woodlands and mountains. There is a king kept in check by a ruling constitutional government, though that doesn't mean insulting him won't get you thrown in jail for treason. And rice is the largest export, noted by the endless rice fields, regardless of which direction you travel. It is the best place for khao soi and tom yum gai. There are 7-Elevens on almost every corner, and when you need some Americana, there's always a KFC within a 3-kilometer radius of where you are. Endless coffee shops, every type of massage you could want. Pretty sure rub and tugs apply, but I wouldn't personally know. Hordes of tuk-tuk taxis waiting to kidnap you and take you where you need to go. And ladyboys. Oh, the ladyboys. Over 90% of the population are Buddhist, hence why I firmly believe it is what many call the land of smiles, which inspired the mantra I carried home with me from this adventure: there is no path to happiness. Happiness is the path. My time in Thailand was spent in the seat of one of 3 Harley-Davidson Pan Americas in the country. Mine I aptly named Lara Croft after one of my childhood heroes, and as the trip commenced, I was ready for whatever this place had in store. And the land of the free? Well, it was fixing for a showdown. The enemy, which became the dark, diabolical shadow following us no matter where we went or what we did, was one of the most depleting, raw, treacherous, and elemental adversaries I've ever faced. Heat. From the minute we set out on the Pan Americas, that initial high of hitting the road faded fast, crushed by the reality that almost every day we were there was set to be above 43 degrees Celsius, or rather 115 degrees Fahrenheit, the hottest month on record ever in Thailand, according to NASA. Our initial goal of taking our time shifted to reach Chiang Mai as quickly as possible. Yet even with the early morning departures, I was stretching my physical limits to the brink. The wind at this temperature in a motorcycle going 120 kilometers an hour does nothing for you. Instead, it simply feels like someone blasting you with the world's largest hairdryer. And when your speed does slow or a stoplight is ahead, the heat is so overpowering it feels like your entire body is on fire. In the 3 days we battled to get to Chiang Mai, I ended each with a heat rash covering my legs and torso, and my feet were so swollen and pruned from being cooked in my boots, they did not look human. An extreme to say the least. Hydration is almost impossible. You are very uncomfortable. Your decision-making ability starts to waver, your temper rises, your patience runs thin. Drained, drenched, dwindling insanity, dangerous. Our day-to-day schedule became a balance of 48 hours of nonstop riding to and filming at various locations, then offset by 2 days of being stationary to offload footage, run errands, and work. For our days on, literally every hour was filled. Wake up in a motel or homestay, pack everything into our luggage, chug protein shakes and water while we loaded bikes, ride for a minimum of 4 to 6 hours, stop at a 7-Eleven every 45 minutes to cool off in the AC, and chug down sweat, which was an electrolyte drink I became obsessed with in Asia. It was awesome. We were constantly perspiring through our pants and jackets, sometimes having to ride without gear to avoid fainting mid-ride, and in the meantime, diligently making sure our cameras didn't overheat in the blazing temperatures. It was a blur of a fever dream. Temples provided a splice of color amongst the muted haze of smoke, heat, and highway, and respite came in the occasional jungle loops of trees and switchbacks up and down the hillsides. Yet in between the cities and landmarks of Thailand, I was fighting so hard to stay conscious and alive. I can barely remember what scenery, if any, there was to witness, even today. This wasn't just another expedition. This was, on the contrary, the hardest thing I've ever done. Nothing will ever blow your mind quite like Songkran in Thailand. Songkran comes from the Sanskrit word samkranti, which means astrological passage, or quite literally, transformation or change in accordance with the Buddhist and Hindu calendars. The origin of the festival does reach beyond religion and is believed to be an observance of the spring harvest. April, as I previously warned you, is an incredibly hot season in Southeast Asia, and social scientists hypothesize farmers would enjoy dousing each other with water and apply tonka powder to cool themselves off. And while tonka powder has currently been replaced with a sort of menthol paste applied to the face and body for a similar chilling effect, the soaking of everyone in sight with water is still very much the same. This pandemonium-fueled celebration falls in line with the rising of Aries on the astrological chart, and from April 13th to 15th, Songkran is a national holiday celebrated through what I can only describe as a non-stop water fight viewed as an allegory for ritual cleansing, washing you of the past and sending you fresh and new into the future. And by water fight, I mean water fight. No matter where you are or what you're doing, if you are outside in public, you are fair game to be drenched with hoses, buckets of water, or water guns every hour of the day while Songkran is in full swing. In Chiang Mai, if you venture down one of the many chaos streets, traffic is bumper to bumper, with crowds lined up on both sides of the road, soaking anyone and everyone within reach, using whatever means they have at their disposal. There are additionally truck beds overflowing with humans dumping water, drinking beer, and blasting music. And the scooters and motorcycles? Well, we aptly prepared ourselves with water guns and fought back as best we could, but be advised you will not ever win against a truckload of locals and buckets of ice-cold water. Reminder, when I say it is everyone, I mean everyone. Families in their personal vehicles, business owners out in front of their shops, pedestrians passing by, tourists and foreigners from every place imaginable, old and young, from every walk of life. It is fascinating, extraordinary, and beyond fun. With Songkran at an end, we took a few days to loop through Chiang Rai, and then another more scenic route to Pai in the hopes of discovering a few hidden gems to film along the way with our previously scouted stops. This is typically when we would strike gold. When filming on the road, it's necessary to have planned attractions to break for, yet the best panoramas tend to be the ones you least expect. The reality, though, was that it was a brutal burn season, thus compounding the extreme heat with an obscure, smoke-filled atmosphere and eliminating a lot of the mountain views and vistas you often witness in northern Thailand. Therefore, we were finding less and less to capture, and the extreme temperatures were having a destructive impact on our physical and mental states. There were additionally some mildly terrifying mitigating factors to our days. The intensity of the heat was causing the pavement of the road to melt, which made traction underneath our Pan Am tires thin to such a degree that by mid to late afternoon we were sliding through almost every corner and turn. The oil in our bikes burned down so fast that when we made it to Pai, there was almost zero oil left in our engines, and this is only 2 weeks after we left Bangkok. Heat from the exhaust pipe and engine had burned the inside of my knees and calves, leaving a significant collection of first-degree blisters I am still scarred from. And our bikes with luggage were totaling roughly 680 pounds each, a large amount to handle on a normal day, let alone when the motorcycle is so hot it burns you and your body can barely continue functioning due to dehydration. When we reached Pai, I honestly didn't know what I was doing in Thailand anymore. I'd lost all my inspiration to be there, particularly with the knowledge that the heat would not be relenting and burn season had just begun. But then came the elephants. One afternoon with elephants and I was in love. They're awesome creatures, magnificent, stubborn, adorable, and have such profound personalities and senses of humor, it becomes obvious their brain power is quite underestimated. Ranging from 8 to 9 feet in height and anywhere from 3 to 4.5 tons, they are the largest land mammals in Southeast Asia. Their trunks contain 150,000 different muscles and tendons, and while I mainly witnessed those trunks being used to spray water, throw mud, or rip bananas from my hands, they are additionally used for breathing, dusting, communication, touching, washing, and both defense and offense when necessary. They don't sweat. Hence why their 2.5 centimeter thick skin folds and wrinkles to retain up to 10 times more water than flat skin does, which helps to dissipate warmth. For the days the water isn't enough, elephants keep their skin clean and protect themselves from sunburn and insects by taking regular dust and mud baths. See those cute ears flapping around? Well, this is because Asian elephants use that motion to cool their bloodstream through the numerous blood vessels of their thinly skinned ears and then transport that blood back out into the body. All elephants are constantly eating, whether it be grasses, fruits, roots, leaves, and shrubs, obviously dependent on their geographical habitat, whether that be Southeast Asia or Africa. On average, they need to eat up to 150 kilograms of food daily to maintain weight, meaning their food consumption is perpetual other than when they sleep. What I find most fascinating is how elephants communicate. Sometimes it's in trumpet calls, often at a low frequency human beings cannot hear. Other times it is in reading body language. Then there's physical touch, scent, and last, seismic signals, or rather, sounds created through vibrations in the ground, which elephants then detect through their bones. Their temporal lobe is bigger than a human's, hence the phrase, elephants never forget, because truly, they don't. Whether it's a caretaker they adore for a lifetime, or the intrinsic hereditary fear of horses from wartime thousands of years ago, elephants are cleverer and more intelligent than most people I have ever met. So while initially I couldn't relate to our guide Ike's incessant dialogue about how obsessed he was with Ott, a very chill 22-year-old female Asian elephant, and her 28-year-old counterpart, Tot, who firmly believed she was a rock star, by the end of our 3 hours with them, I was nearly as infatuated as Ike was. Our tour began by feeding Ott and Tot an assortment of fruit and plants, with Tot battling to be the center of everyone's attention, and Ott patiently allowing Tot the floor, with the full knowledge she would get plenty of her own bananas. I gravitated to Ott, and within a few minutes of treating her to some fruit and stroking her trunk, I was in love. She studied me with a calm, deliberate gaze as if she could read the thoughts passing through my mind, something I honestly do not consider an impossibility. With our initial round of treats gone, it was off to the river where we played with the girls in the water for over an hour, splashing them with buckets to cool off as they sprayed us with their trunks. I swear I could telepathically hear them laughing as they soaked us. Once they were tired of the water, it was straight to snack on some grass and shrubs before Ott and Tot got to work covering themselves in mud, and we had to be diligent with our movements to avoid being collateral damage in their process. As their mudslinging came to a close, Ott and Tot came to a standstill next to each other, and suddenly a sound reverberated through the ground and up into my bones. So similar to that of an old airplane engine, I actually scanned the sky overhead, believing it had to be something mechanical in the air or off in the distance. Ike wandered over beside me upon seeing my confusion and threw me a big smile. "You know what that is?" he asked. I shook my head and he grinned again. "It's them." My eyes immediately went from Ike to Ott and Tot, whose trunks had linked together in practiced fashion. "That's them?" I replied, making that sound. "Yeah, it is," he told me. "Pretty cool, huh?" "It's unbelievable," I whispered, staring at the two elephants. The deep echo carried on, accompanied by some occasional blasts from their trumpets, which remained locked, creating a symphonic vibration of body, mind, and soul. For a minute or two, I forgot about the sun beating down on my skin. I forgot about my swollen feet and dehydrated limbs. I forgot about all the worries, all the unanswered questions, all the tumult of the grind, and was firmly planted in the present. I was undeniably connected to the wild and to these two adorable beasts, engulfed in the magic of Mother Nature and aware that while I am a foreigner, these elephants and I, we're the same. We're made of the same stuff, we come from the same earth, we evolved from the same origins. A luck of the draw, really, and recognition that while humans often presume that they have the answers to the big questions, this could not be further from the truth. You have never felt more trivial or more humbled than when the elephants bring you into their world and surely giggle to themselves at how silly, awkward, and ignorant we humans are. During the 2 hours we had down by the river, I don't think I ever got more than a few meters from Ott, and as our time with the girls concluded, I reluctantly said goodbye and went on my way. But I'll never forget that elephant. How she watched me so closely, how much she loved when I splashed water on her back, or how she enjoyed the scratches to her face and her trunk. Ott was a reminder to me that the wonders of the world are still incredibly real, and it is in nature we find the deepest connection to ourselves, to our planet, and to the miracle of existence. I hope Ott remembers me, because I will never forget her. While I stayed in Thailand for 5 weeks, my Pan America adventure concluded after just 3, a decision I made later that night in Pai after the day with the elephants. My final weeks were spent around Bangkok and Phuket, exploring these cities and attempting to recover from the brutalities my body and brain endured. What I haven't shared with many in the aftermath is that Thailand burned something out of me. In my time on the road, I let my life become a pursuit of content, of filming, and of being consumed with becoming somebody. I had let others influence who I wanted to be, and thus lost myself during that year. I'd been fighting so hard to get somewhere, I'd forgotten that the only place I needed to be was right here, in the present, chasing my dreams versus the dreams of others. There is no path to happiness, no triumph that vindicates suffering, and no person that can fix the brokenness. You quite simply must do what makes you happy. And so I let Thailand burn my year of discovery away. My year of healing wounds, testing limits, and chasing sunsets. That chapter was done. I was ready for embracing sunrises, for new beginnings, for a new chapter, and for a new life of doing what I do best: storytelling. Within days of being home from Thailand, I got my first job as a documentary filmmaker. Next came an Emmy Award, and finally, I got to move home to Oregon. In a strange way, I feel as if I've been given a second chance to do this right. And every decision I've made since I arrived back in the US has been with happiness in mind. Life is so fleeting. Time is the most precious resource we have. Spend it doing what you love, with the people you love, and don't waste it. If you need me, I'll be out here, where happiness is my path. Live wild, ride free.